I found a power and I've made it mine. Strength for daily living coming from the vine. Jesus is my friend, I talk with him each day. Speaking to my heart, he guides me in the way. Trusting in his presence ever by my side. Following in faith, I let my Savior guide. Jesus is the power ever in my soul. He is the love that makes the family whole. Families thus united set the church aflame, lighting up the world with power in Jesus' name.
So one of my goals was, after I became a member of this denomination, it was, Lord, I want to know how to walk with you. Just like Enoch did. Nothing complicated, not for show. It's just that I need you. And yes, your church is good, but it's not good enough. And even your doctrines, Lord, are good, but they're not good enough. And Lord, all those carrots and bananas are great, but they're not great enough. There's only one thing that would satisfy my soul, and that's to walk with God. And I had a burning desire in my heart to do that. And that's what we set out years ago to do. And then my goal after that was to take that walk and to bring it into my marriage and restore what Sal and I once had when we were courting with each other. Restore that preciousness of that first love experience. And then I wanted to bring it into my two sons' life. Those were the goals of my life. And we found that. And it's working. It's working. And I want it to work for you. But God told me that's not enough, Jim. When you find that, now you must help others find it too. That's how I met this guy over here. And I'll tell you something about Mark. I'll tell you what I like about Mark. Mark has his heart beating in my chest. And my heart is beating in his chest. And that's why when we came together, we had commonality in God. And that's what connects us. And so when you see some camaraderie between us and you see a little fun between us, it's because our hearts are beating in each other's chest. Those are the kind of men I want to see. I wasn't that kind of a man. I wanted my boys to be that kind of men. And yes, I did challenge the men, and yes, I was too tough on them. But it was all needed, gentlemen. Because we are not what God has called us to be. So I want to talk to you about something very serious this morning. It's not complicated, but it's very serious. Revelation 2:4 says, I have this against you, that you have left your first love. Remember, therefore, from where you have fallen, repent and do the first works, or else I will come to you quickly and remove your lampstands from its place unless you repent. Before God can return, he must restore two loves in all of our hearts. Do you know that? And we, as Adventists, are looking for something else to happen. But God says, I must restore two loves in your heart. Love for the Lord, sadly, has degenerated into orthodox routine. Are you with me? I cry sometimes when I travel to other countries and across the United States, and I look at God's people and they just have a routine. Oh, yes, it's the right day. Praise God. But has your love for God been replaced by an orthodox routine where you just go through the ceremony and you just come and you leave? Or is there a burning desire in your heart to have a walk with God? That love must be restored. God must become the priority of our everyday lives. All must be centered and filtered through the God of the universe. That's how you give glory to God. God must become our religion. He must become our wisdom and our strength. This must be seen by others we come in contact in our daily lives. When they see you, they must not see your church. They must not see your diet. They must see God's soul reflecting through you. Restored in the image of a God of love. That's what we are called to. That's what us people must have in our hearts. It must be active and ongoing and vibrant, and it must change our lives and our marriages. The second love that must be restored is that the plateaued indifference in our marriages must be replaced with a daily in-love experience. I'm 60 years old and I'm in love. You know how good that is? I'm telling you, I don't love my wife. I'm telling you, I am in love with my life. And it's wonderful. It keeps me young, vibrant, enthusiastic. It's a power that the world doesn't have. It's a power our church must possess. If the religion you possess does not alter you in these two areas, you must seriously question whether you have entered into the saving gospel or not. Romans 1:16 says the gospel is the power of God to save you from yourself, not just from error. But I need saving. How often you think I need saving? Can anybody guess? Every moment. Every time I what? Open my German mouth. I need to be saved. Are you with me? Maybe you're not German. How many Germans here? Oh, heaven forbid, Pastor. I need saving every time I open my mouth. I can of myself do nothing. Oh, yeah. The English. My wife is partly Welsh, by the way. I need a power not just for myself, but I need a power to restore my marriage. You know what would disappoint me is if I would be sold on truth and walk into a church with all the truth and see that the marriages are just as bad off as the world is. You know what I would do, Mark? I'd find the exit. I'd say they're missing something. I want to find a church that has it all together. So Sally shared with you this morning in the first hour how to make God a priority in your life. Brothers and sisters, I cannot suggest to you enough my God. He is powerful, awesome to save, always forgiving, very long-suffering, and he's there for each and every one of us. It is a key ingredient in finding an irresistible marriage that we're going to talk about. And that's what Sally talked about this morning. I want to talk to you about becoming irresistible in our marriages. Matthew 20:28. The Son of Man did not come to serve, but what? To be served, but to serve. I opened last night with a story about a young couple that wanted to get married. And their parents suggested that they come up to my house and talk with me. And as they came into my house, they were in love and the chemistry was flowing and it was beautiful. I offered them to sit in two separate chairs and they chose the couch. And so I want to take you back to that scene for those of you that weren't here last night. These two were cozied up on the couch together. As I asked them what questions they had, they looked at each other sort of like, well, I'll condescend to you. Do you want to ask the first question? No. They looked at the other. You go ahead. And I was watching this. They were willing to defer to the other person. As we got into the conversation, Alicia squirmed in her seat just a little bit, just a tad bit. The girl squirmed. You know what JD did? He stopped talking with me. He instantly put his focus on Alicia, and he adjusted their situation so that she was comfortable instantly. And he forgot about me. And then when she was all cozy, just right, he proceeded with the conversation. And as J.D. and I were discussing things, his throat was a little dry. They had to drive 2.5 hours to get to our wilderness home. She instantly noticed. She looked at him. I could sense that she was thinking. I think her conscience was speaking to her. That's the Holy Spirit saying to her, your boyfriend is uncomfortable. You know what Alicia did? And I'm watching this go on. It's beautiful. I love this stuff. She instantly steps up. She leaves us two talking. She goes into her kitchen. She gets a nice glass of water. She turned the water and she let it run for a while because she wanted to make sure it was just cold enough for her future husband. What an attitude. Are you with me? Do you catch it? Not big things, are these? But they're very important things. And she comes back and she sits down. He leads the conversation for me again. Make sure she's all cozied. He drinks his water. J.D. and Alicia were tuned in to each other. Are you with me? I mean, they are tuned in to each other's needs. Nothing is going to come between them. Each was focused on the other and looked for opportunities to serve the other. So principle number 2, principle number 1 was what Sally shared this morning, was you make God a priority in your life. You get connected with God. You stay focused on God. Because He's the power source. He's the wisdom. He's got the knowledge. He's got the love to pour into us. But principle number 2 now is once you're connected to the source of power, what do? Principle number 2 is in Luke 10:27. You shall love your spouse as yourself. That's my paraphrase. How do you love your spouse? Nothing in it for me. You love your spouse as you would love yourself. When a husband and wife both focus on understanding each other's needs and watch for opportunities to serve the other, their hearts will remain open and connected, especially if they are connected to Jesus Christ, because He is always speaking to us. That's why He gives us a conscience. And you know why I read my Bible? I don't necessarily just read my Bible to prove what the trumpets are and what the seals are. I first read my Bible to educate it to my conscience mark. Because when God, the God of the universe, whispers into my conscience, I want to know if it is it Jim Holmberger speaking? Is it my own human reasoning? Is it the God of the universe, or is it the enemy? And so I read the Bible to educate my conscience. And so when God whispers to me, I'm alert to be a Minuteman for God. That's what empowers my marriage. Not me, and it's not my wisdom. It's my sensitivity to the whispers of God to my soul. So these two become irresistible to each other. J.D. and Alicia wanted to know, how do we stay in love? They did not want to lose what they presently had. These two were serious. They were telling me when we go into the church, we don't see marriages that are in love. Isn't that sad? How can that be? If we are God's remnant people, how can we not be in love with each other? You're going to tell me you have the truth? I think maybe you have facts. Disassociated from a connection with the God of the universe, you are in trouble. You are in very, very serious trouble. They don't want to end up like the rest of us, is what they were telling me. I almost wanted to cry, because this is my church and I love it. They did not want to lose what they presently had. So principle number 2, find out what says, I love you to your spouse. What is it in your life, in her life, that says, I love you? And then do it daily the rest of your lives. As long as both of you remain focused on each other, rather than what you're getting or not getting from the marriage, you will stay in love. As I've worked with scores of troubled marriages, I've observed that in most cases the trouble boils down to one thing. You don't love me as you first did. Something started out in Rady's marriage with Jeanette, and then they what? Lost it. How soon, Rady? She says 2 weeks. I'm asking what you say. His wife said they lost it in 2 weeks. And this was the man of her dreams. This was the man that communicated with her, was going to be with her and do all the household chores and communicate. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, according to his wife. You'll hear their story this afternoon, and it's going to be on communication, by the way. It's powerful. Don't miss it. 2 weeks. When this moment comes, and it comes into most marriages, and it comes into the church too, either gradually or all at once, it has devastating effects. That's why you see the divorce rate at 50% even in the church. Separation going on horrendously even in the church. You see couples just coexisting. They say, well, we're not divorced, we're not separated, but they're just coexisting in the same space. No. No. That can't be God's church, can it? It is. And it scares me. Others are going through a living hell. These are not the options to choose. We somehow assume that our spouse would always be the way we knew them while we were courting. So let's go back and think about those times of our first love. I've had to do this, and I'm going to take you back in my experience, because God has always asked me to speak from experience too, not just from principles. Go back and think about those times of your first love. No, you can't necessarily restore the tingles. We discussed that last night, didn't we? The chemistry. However, you can enter into intentional love. It's actually more powerful than the tingles itself. And it's beautiful. For example, let's talk about focusing on the other person. When I was dating Sally, no problem focusing on her. She's cute. Have you seen her? She's cuddly. She's a great companion. I mean, every time I could get a date with her, I got a date with her. Any kind of excuse, I want to be out with her. I will sacrifice for her, period. You know what I did after some of the dates? I mean, I'd come home, I would actually write her a letter. I mean, I'd just been with her, but I'd write her a letter. How long has it been since you wrote a letter to your wives? And you know, I'd call her on the phone. That was in the day when we were going to college and long distance. I know how many of you can go back over the dinosaur days with me. No, come on. 90 cents a minute. Are you with me? Long distance call from Michigan to Wisconsin, 90 cents a minute. Yeah. She was an expensive girl to know. She was worth it too, I'll tell you. Sacrifice. She would come home from her nursing school, and I'd come over there, and I would just say, where's a wash bucket and a mitt? And she'd say, why? I said, your car's dirty. You're going to clean it for me? Where's the vacuum cleaner? Where's a rag and a spray bottle? I'll get those inside windows for you. Got a little fog on it. And then she'd fix something for me to eat, or we'd go out on a picnic. Focused what? Are these big things? Are they important things? You better believe it. Today we're 60 years old, and she's just as cute and cuddly. In fact, she's more cute and cuddly. Because her heart has grown and swollen with a love for me that's been proved and tested for 37 years. That's what makes her cute and cuddly. Isn't that right? I call her my Ruth. She was misnamed. You know, her name is Sally, but she's really Ruth. Wherever thou shalt go, I will go. Wherever thou liest, I will lie. That poor girl has jumped out of airplanes with me at 15,000 feet. She's been down the ocean with me in 125 feet with sharks. She's been on surf waves and everything all over the place with me. Wherever I go, she goes with me. She's nuts. But she loves being with Jim. Number 2, prioritizing your life, time, and activities around your spouse. When Sal and I were dating, we'd come home on the weekends because I was up in Michigan Technological University up in Holton, Michigan. She was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, becoming a nurse. You know what that meant? For me to come home every weekend I was carrying 21 credits and I was working 25 hours a week. Do you know what that meant in sacrifice? How to hit the books so I could spend Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with this cute little thing? It meant I worked extra hard. It meant when all the other guys are out boozing and chasing, I didn't. I hit the books. Why? Because she's worth it. And you know, she was never treated like that in her life. All her brothers, she had 4 brothers, she was the youngest of 5. 4 brothers told her she was fat, stupid, ugly. And she began to believe that. But this young green-eyed, blonde-haired boy comes along and sacrifices for her. What's going on in her heart? Why do I do those things? Or why did I do them? Because I wanted time with Sally. Today, our typical routine is right around noon, her and I take time off for each other. We go out on the swing and we swing. Usually around 5:30, we go for a walk in the evening together. Just Wednesday, if you remember, this week Wednesday, we had taken our time on our swing and we had taken our 5:30 walk. 6:30, I'm sitting on the back porch. I got my shoes off. They're up on our back railing. We live up in the wilderness where grizzly bears actually are. Okay? I mean, I have to chase them out of the yard at times, honestly. I just called. I was running the other morning. I had one come out at me. I actually had to call the department because I'm running down my driveway and out comes from the wood. I mean, honestly, a grizzly full charging right straight at me. It really caught my attention. You want to see somebody run a marathon? I'm your man. And we met 20 yards apart. But we're sitting out there and I'm just looking and I'm thinking about coming here and I'm thinking about the serene area that we have and the blessings I want you people to experience. My wife comes out from the back door. She comes down. She sits right next to me. She grabs my hand. Remember this? She kicks off her little sandals. She puts her feet up on the railing with me, and we sat there for an hour and a half just looking out into our wilderness, talking, connecting. People ask me, Jim, why haven't you watched a TV set in 25 years? I don't need one. Are you with me? Jim, why don't you get all those videos and watch them every evening? I make my own videos. Are you with me? Are you with me? I'm serious. I'm not a Pharisee. I'm just in love with her. And honestly, I haven't had a TV set in 25 years. And I don't need all those videos that Hollywood paints as romantic. I'm the romantic. They got nothing over on me. You want to know why? Because God instructs me what to say and what to do. It's better than false Hollywood because it's the real thing going on in your house and going on in your hearts. And it's powerful when it's delivered. I want you to experience that. You know, when we got done with that Wednesday night, we usually have worship about 8:30. We usually go to bed about 9 o'clock. You know what we did when we went to bed? What do you think we did? I jump in bed usually and I steal her curlers and I hide them someplace and she's got to find them. And then I steal her pillow and then she hits me and we get through all that mischievousness. Okay, Alvin, you with me? We get through all that mischievousness. She comes and where does she put her head? Almost every night, right here. She comes over, she puts her head on my shoulder, she cuddles up, and we'll just lay there and we'll talk for about 10, 15 minutes until we just naturally feel like falling asleep. And that night I just felt like just drifting off, so I just kind of rolled over, and I felt her fingers on my back, gently soothing my back. 60 years old. The teenagers have nothing on us. Are you with me? And this isn't pulpit talk. This is real life. This is our life today. Number 3, desire to please your spouse. When I was dating Sally, I rushed to open that door for her. What a knight in shining armor. What did that say to her? Her brothers told her she was fat, stupid, and ugly. I'm doing what? Come on, queen. Go through the door. I'm your butler. I'm here for you. She felt what? Special. No big deal. What does it take? I'm going through that door anyways. What does it take? An attitude that you mean something to me. None of this stuff is deep theology, but it works. When I would come into her house sometimes, and she was always taught you keep a man waiting. I hate that. I'm German. I'm always early. But when she come walking around the corner, sometimes she just stand in the bathroom for 5 minutes because her mother's telling her, you always keep a man waiting. Drives me nuts. All right? But when she come around the corner, all I would do is something like this. Wow. And she'd go, Are you connecting with this? What does that do to Sally? When that happens, when that's real, and it's real life, and you're not putting it on, what happens to the woman? She's connected. This is my man. Sometimes I'd say to her, boy, you look good. What a nice outfit. Sometimes I'd bring her tokens. Now, I didn't have much money then. I was going to college and trying to work through. I had hardly any money at all. So one day, maybe I shouldn't have done it. Please forgive me, Mother. She's in her grave now. But she had these carnation bushes outside her house. My mother liked carnation bushes. And I couldn't afford a dozen roses. So I clipped one of those carnations. I went in the house and I snuck a glass. It was kind of round, on top, it was a cocktail glass, to be honest with you. And I put some water in it. I put some coloring. What do they call that stuff you grew? Food coloring in it. It was red. And so I had this white carnation with some pink or rose going around it in this glass, and I came to the door with her, and I didn't even say anything. I said, for you. Ooh. That was then. How about now? A good friend of mine, Michael Dursum, he's the head of the International Rescue and Relief Program at Lincoln College at Union College down in Lincoln. He invited me to do a week of prayer for students and that, and after him and I went into the Slot Canyon. I always wanted to do these slot canyons. Have you ever been in a slot canyon where they're real narrow and deep, and you go, they're just beautiful. And as I'm going through these slot canyons, sometimes you actually have to swim 100 yards through these slot canyons that are very, almost not wider than your shoulders. And it's dark and it's dingy, and there can be little creepy things and all that, Well, as I'm going through some of these slot canyons, I start finding some petrified wood. And I go to myself, wow! I'll bet you Sally would like these for some centerpieces. And I'm thinking to myself, she would really like these. So I take one big one. This stuff is heavy. And I put it in my little backpack, which you need, because when you go through these slot canyons, you need to rest on your backpack. And you kick your way through. Well, I picked up so much petrified wood. When I put my backpack in the water, I had to keep it up. And Mike is telling me, I'm going to have to rescue you. You're going to drown, I said, I'll do anything for Sally. She is just going to love this petrified wood. I got all kinds of them, didn't I? I mean, I am excited because I'm doing this for what? My beloved. I get home and I open up my pack and she goes, well, they might look good outside with some of the lawn ornaments or something, Is that right, Sally? I risked my life. But the important point is, I thought they would be great. Sometimes just to liven up our marriage, I have beauty attacks. You know what that is? It's when I walk in a room or Sally walks in a room, I just have a heart attack and I fall over. Dead. And she has to revive me. It's called mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Why? Come on now, why? Because I am in love with her. And I want you to have that same love experience, not with what I do, but with what God directs you to do. Intentional love says, I'm focused on you. A devoted love, I am tuned into you. I will meet your needs and I will meet your wishes. It's not complicated. When God whispers, I respond. I'm not in charge of my marriage. This isn't a new legalism for marriage. God is in charge of making me irresistible in my marriage. And thine ears shall hear a what? A word behind thee saying, this is the way, walk ye in it. When you turn to the left and to the right. God says, I stand right by you. That's the gospel of Jesus Christ. You don't have the wisdom and the power to restore your marriage, but God does. And if you learn how to have a conscience that's sensitive to the Holy Spirit and His Word, God can restore your marriage. And it can be a powerful thing. To me, it's the greatest evangelism tool that the Seventh-day Adventist Church is missing. And I believe that full-heartedly. It's the greatest evangelism tool that we are missing. Number 4, touch each other affectionately. When I was engaged to Sally, I loved to hold her hand. I don't think there's a place we'd go that we didn't hold hands. I put my arm around her. Sometimes I'd tickle her. Sometimes I'd hug her. And I would kiss her properly for the stage that we were at when we were courting. We were engaged. This was not a prelude to physical intimacy. This was an expression of my heart to my bride-to-be. Mrs. White says, love cannot long last without expression. Are you with me? Love cannot long last without expression. My brother's attitude is this. He's 4 years older than me. I told you when I married you I love you, and if I change my mind, I'll let you know. And his wife reads the novels to get her romance. How sad. And I see so many women watch the videos to get their romance. How sad. Gentlemen, wake up. We are to be their romance. Not just to get them into the bedroom, but to get their heart and retain their heart. That is a calling of God, of every man to his wife. Honestly. Today we still consistently hold hands. Often she's under my wing. Yes, I do tickle her. She doesn't always like it. Because I usually like to do it when it irritates her. I don't know why. I don't know why. Somebody can explain that to me. Tell her why. Don't tell me. I like doing it. I hug her and I kiss her multiple times a day. I don't know if you noticed it. She asked me for a kiss coming off the pulpit. Did you notice that? When she came off the pulpit, she said, how about a kiss? And she got a little peck from me. Often she gets one. Why? Love cannot long last without expression. Exactly. That expression says, I am still focused on my wife. God will prompt you, I guarantee you. You need to follow through with what God prompts you with. That is the gospel according to the marriage. God will prompt you. He will help your marriage come better. You don't have to do it. It's not a self-help program. It's a connected program with God and focused on your spouse. Maybe he's prompting you now to hold your spouse's hand or put your arm around their shoulder like this gentleman in the middle over here has. Stand up, you two. Look at these two. Come on, stand up. I can even see it here. These two, look at that. Shame on you in church, cuddling up to your wife. Don't you know we're an appropriate pharisaical church? I can see it up here. God bless you. Maybe God's impressing you right now to do it. Maybe he wants you to look at her and wink at her. Go ahead. It's all right. Number 5, talk about your future in positive terms. Sal and I, when we were dating, we had this little dream that some tornado would come along and whisk us off to some island and plant us down the island. And then there we'd have our island paradise. We would raise our 12 children. I don't know if that's a nightmare or a dream. I'm talking as a man that's raised 2 strong young men, by the way. And we live out our lives together. Today, Sal and I live in a wilderness paradise. We've raised 2 godly young men. And I promised her this year it would be the happiest year of our marriage. That was a promise I made to her this year. This year will be the happiest, most joyous year of our marriage. Isn't that right? And I'm holding to that. And I'm 60. And it's not done in my life. Our dreams of a good life together are still alive and they are in motion. Maybe you need to break the stale existence and follow some of your old dreams. Or maybe you need to ask God for some new dreams for your marriage. How about it? Number 6, laugh together and play together. Sal and I were dating. We were always laughing and playing. I didn't know what stress was back then. Honestly, I didn't know what stress was. We go to this quarry where we go on my motorcycle, and we would play. I'd dunk her in the quarry, and she'd dunk me, and we'd jump off cliffs, and we'd laugh, and we'd splash each other. And I mean, there was laughter and innocent fun constantly. Always. How long has it been since you just had innocent fun together and you've laughed together? I mean, this is good medicine. It honestly is. Today we still do the same things. We love to laugh and play together. Please don't anybody email me on this. Don't anybody correct me on this. I'm going to let you into my life. This is the way we had fun, though. We were over in Brazil, and there was a man that owned this island in the ocean. And I was speaking to the ASI men, all the businessmen in Brazil. And he wanted Sal and I to take a break after it, so he took us to his island. He says, the island's yours, the 12 servants are yours, the captains of the boats, the helicopter men, they're all yours. Enjoy. So I said, I haven't gone water skiing in 20 years. Let's go water skiing. And so I called the captains of the ship, and they got the water ski boats out there, and all the men were out there, and this man's secretary was there to make sure that, because they all spoke Puerto Rican and we didn't, so they didn't, the lingo she had to interpret. And so Sally and I are standing there, and we're getting ready to go water skiing. And we're standing on this, and they got this huge boat, and go water skiing behind it. I'm like, this is exciting. Sally's standing next to me, and I got this little mischief thought in my mind. And we're standing about 8 feet above on this beautiful dock, and the ocean's down below. So I just pushed her over. And these people are standing there like, whoa, this is going to be a Titanic fight. And none of them speak English, And so she comes up out of the water. She looks like a drowned rat. And she comes walking up, and she's got this look on her face. And I know my wife, because I know what she's going to do. You know what she's going to do? She's going to think this is a football game, and she's going to tackle me, and she's going to take me in. So I'm going to do a little diversion move. So when she comes at me, I'm going to step aside, and so she does. She gets ready, and these people are watching this like, this guy wrote Escape to God, because we all gave him a Portuguese copy of it, And they're watching us have fun. So she comes at me, I step aside, and I just... Hear what she said? That's my man. And so the owner of the island secretary is starting to squirm because they're not laughing like you. I mean, they're thinking that this thing is... So she comes up and she enlists some help. This is not funny. At this point, this does not get very funny. Pardon me, sir? You have a hearing problem. This is not funny. Because it's not only my wife, but two captains in their full gear and the man's secretary are all coming at me. I jumped. I had to get in anyways, right? Let's get on with the water skiing. Let's go. So it's Jim 2, Sally 0. We have fun together. Are you with me? Now, guys, don't go pushing your wife in the ocean and saying, Jim Homburger said this was gospel, all right? Don't do that. Don't do that. My wife loves the water. She's an excellent swimmer, scuba diver, surfer. She loves the water. We can do that. Yeah, okay. Just get into the understanding. Turn the hot water off and the shower on, or do something like that, something that's just innocent. But laugh again. Are you with me? Bring the innocent fun and laughter back into your marriage. Would you please? Daily. All right? Listen to God. He will suggest. I'm not saying God suggested I did that, but I am saying we have fun. Number 7, you need to support each other through difficult circumstances. This is a miserable world to live in. Miserable. You need to support each other. You need to give each other the benefit of the doubt. Work together, resolve differences. This is how J.D. and Alicia treat each other now. It's not hard, and it happens to them naturally. All of us need to return to what we once had, or we need to find it for the first time. Is that right? It's called intentional love. I am devoted to you. I am here for you. Alicia asked me, she says, how do people fall out of love, Mr. Holmberger? Isn't this a sad story? Here's a couple that's getting married in 3 months. They came for marriage counseling. She wants to know, how do couples fall out of love? Many couples simply stop doing what they used to do easily and naturally. Have you? It's not that each other is not a priority anymore. It's that they simply are less of a priority. Shame on us. You begin to love each other in conjunction with many other things now. No. No to Facebook. No to the social networks. I'll give that time to my wife. Soon those things steal your time and affections, and your first love slides in the second, third, fourth place, and now you're connected to the internet or Facebook because you're not getting it at home. No. 1,000 times. Men begin to spend more time in business and employment. They become devoted to their success. Come on now. Just because a man makes $1 million or can throw a stupid ball, does that make him successful? You know what my definition of success is? And you don't have to accept it. It's a balanced man. It's a man that not only supports his family, but his wife is in love with him. His children have a legacy of character. And he gives his life for the benefit of others. Even those that disagree with him. That is my definition of success. I want balance. I don't want to be skewed out just because I can do some sport, because I can make a lot of money. I want the balance of success. And that's what I've gone after. And by God's grace, it's achievable by every man and woman if you'll go after it. Most men spend more time with their sports and their news and their politics. Shame on them. I spend no more time in politics. I can tell you that Nixon lost the election. Did he? I don't care. You want to know why? Because it is not important what's going on in the White House. What is important is what is going on in your house. You cannot change the White House. Politics will never change the world. Only the gospel changes the world. So leave the politics alone and get into the gospel. Get into God's kingdom. Get into His house. Leave the White House alone. Don't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. It's all rigged. That's what us men have to do. For some men, it's even the church. It's giving Bible studies or doing outreach and evangelism that's more important than their families. I'm not saying you shouldn't do these things, but what is your first priority? And have you taken care of it? If these are your first priorities and your wife is waning at home, you got religion without power, and you are dangerous. It was religion without power that crucified the Lord of the Sabbath before the Sabbath day. So we got to take this man off the cross because we'll violate the Sabbath. Religion without power is dangerous. Even your religion without power is dangerous. Because you are in charge and not God. That scares me. Many men become more fascinated with the internet than their wives. Is that you? My heart goes out to you. We have materials here called Touching the Taboo. If that taboo has gotten into you, my heart is with you, gentlemen. But there's answers for it. We brought some of those answers here for you, that you may experience true liberty. Women, their husbands don't always seem quite as irresistible as they once did. The sparkle has left their eyes. Why? They fill the gap of time on the telephone. One of the most blessed experiences when Sal and I moved to the mountains, we didn't have a telephone for 3 years. Praise God. Watching TV, or they throw themselves into their shopping malls or their church activities. These are poor substitutes for an irresistible marriage. Poor substitutes. Whatever it is that steals your first love, the prescription is the same. Turn back and work as you did before, Revelation 2:5 says. It's not complicated, it's not complex, it's not confusing. It's actually quite simple. It's the attitude of, I am here for you. And they know it. That's why my marriage works today. I live to make my Sally happy. This must resurface and take precedent in our everyday lives if we are going to finish the work in this world. It isn't trying to get your mate to become irresistible. It is becoming irresistible to him or her by drawing life, love, and wisdom from God and living it out daily. That is a Christian. That is a Christian. This is not rocket science. It is listening to God whispering to your conscience on how to serve one another. This is to become a way of life for every one of us, the rest of our lives. This is class 101 for your children in what a happy marriage is. Why are up to 30% of our young people today choosing not to marry today? Because most cannot find a spouse like this. They're looking, searching all over. I know girls all over the planet that are telling me, and they're 25, they're 30, they're 35 years old, beautiful young ladies, virtuous young ladies, gifted young ladies. They cannot find this kind of men with this kind of an attitude. How sad. Many don't want what they witness in their own home and church. But God says, choose you this day whom you will serve. Everybody can choose this kind of marriage if they like. I have a practical assignment for you, one that I did myself. and that is to take out a 3x5 card and write down the 3 things your spouse used to do for you that opened your heart. So I sat down. I thought I'd better do it for myself. You know, 3 things I used to do for Sally and always opened her heart when I was first going with her? And then I lost this. Then I had to refine it. You know what? 3 things turned my wife's heart on. What do you think they are? Number 1, cherish her daily. Treat her like a queen, or at that time it was a princess. Today she's my queen. Cherish her. Every day, show her that you cherish her. It turns her heart on. You cannot outserve her. If you cherish that woman, she will outserve you to death. That's not why you do it. That's a fringe benefit. The second thing is listen and understand her. She doesn't care if I agree with her. What she cares is that I listen and I understand what she's saying. And as long as I do that, I can have the final word. Number 3, she loves to be affirmed daily. Every day. That's my, did I get it right, honey? 100%. That's my wife. You have to know what your wife is. Last night I talked about Stan and Susan. They were the 2 most incompatible people that I've ever counseled in marriage, and they're back together today. I asked Susan to make out her card of 3 things. This is what Susan put on. Honey, come home on time and play with the children. Can you hear this mother's heart, this wife's heart? Come on home on time, play with the children. Number 2, she says, work out with me 3 evenings a week. And number 3, she says, play miniature golf and take me out to eat weekly. Not complicated, is it? Susan longed for Stan to spend time with her and the children. For her, this meant that Stan would let Susan know what time he'd be home, and he would arrive at the stated time with a smile on his face. That means a lot to that wife. How about it, guys? Instead of plopping down in front of the TV and grabbing the newspaper, maybe we should come home and play with our children. How about it? Number 2, Susan said, exercise. Well, Stan doesn't like to exercise. He exercises by watching the TV set. So you know what he does? He says, I'll sacrifice. I'll go down and exercise with you weekly. And he's doing it. He's doing it, and it's working. The third thing she says, weekly, she wanted to go out and play miniature golf. Now, why does she want to hit that stupid little white ball around all those goofy things? Isn't that a stupid game? I'll tell you why, because Roger's wife is doing it right now. She's giggling. Because when she goes out with her husband and they hit that stupid little ball around and he can't get it in 3 or 4 tries and she gets a hole in one, guess what? She giggles. She thinks it's funny. Us guys get real serious when we get all smart, stroking. The women just go up and hit the stupid thing. And they beat us. She just wants to have what? Fun. Innocent what? Fun and giggle and laugh. That was very important to Susan. It's good medicine. If Susan wanted to go for a walk, Stan wouldn't get on the internet. He says, all right, I won't go on there. If you want to go for a walk, I'll go for a walk with you. Because a mouse is a poor substitute for a wife's hand. Why was that all women saying that? Where's the men? Yeah. She realized that his attitude made a big difference. If he went through all the motions but had a sour disposition, it would be counterproductive. At first, Stan told me, he says, Jim, sometimes I feel like I'm just playing a game. You know what I told Stan? He says, I just feel like I'm playing a game. I says, you know, Stan, practice makes perfect. Play it until you get it down. Play it until it works. Play it until the heart restores. And he's done it. And it's working for them now. So stay with intentional love until it becomes yours. Renew the love in your marriage. Remain swift to hear God's whisperings. That's James 1:19. God's Holy Spirit will custom tailor your words and your actions to renew your marriage. This is God's blueprint for reestablishing hope in everybody's heart. What is God saying to you right now? So how do you recognize God's whisperings? It's quite simple, man. Gentlemen, if upon arriving home you feel impressed to softly and gently hug and kiss your wife, do it. Are you with me, gentlemen? This is not rocket science. Sally, would you come up here, please? Your wife does not want a peck on the cheek. Are you with me? Does your wife want to, or do you think, I see some men come in the house and they say, love ya. You think the wife is going, wow, love ya? Come on, gentlemen. She's your girl. Love cannot long last without what? Expression. Let her know she's loved.
I see it in your eyes.
Come on, gentlemen. You think our church is missing something? I do. What do you think, Mark? If you're reading the newspaper or on the internet and you are pricked in your conscience to invite your wife to go for a walk, gentlemen, what are you going to do? You going to listen to God? Or are you going to keep on with your newspaper and internet? Who's really in charge of your life? When you take her for a walk, do it hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder. After the evening meal, if you have a choice of watching your favorite TV program or helping your wife do dishes, choose you this day who you will serve. Who you going to serve? Make her feel like a queen. I was out. I took my grandson, Nathan, out. He's 3 years old. I took him out for a day. I was going to take him down the pool, go swimming. But first, I was going to take him out to eat. So I took him to the pizza parlor. Now, for you health nuts, I'm one too. All right? And I'm a vegan most of the time. All right? So I found a pizza place that has whole wheat crust and soy cheese. Kalispell, Montana. What's the name of the place? McKinsey River Pizza. Not bad. So I'm there, and I got my 3-year-old son, and grandson. And we're sitting there, you know, and I put my wallet, because I like to pay ahead of time, because they never come quick enough to take my money. I always got to wait. So I take my credit card out, and I put my wallet down. I put my credit card there as soon as I order, because I want to get this thing paid for. Because when I'm done, I want to get out of there. You know what my grandson does? He's 3 years old, and so he picks up my wallet, and he starts going through it. And he starts taking it apart. And I'm watching it, and he gets to this picture right here. Okay, it's a picture of my girlfriend. Also a picture of my wife. But you know what he says to me? As he's going through I've got a picture of my children here too, and my sweet little adopted daughter over here. And he says, Opa. Opa is German for grandpa, by the way. They call me Opa. It's German. He says, Opa, is this your queen? 3 years old. 101 in marriage. Opa, is this your queen? Yes. Why does my grandson at age 3 know the game already? He knows she's my queen. 3 years old. 3 years old. And he knows she is my queen. And may that forever be. What about you? While you're at work, if a thought comes to mind, call your wife and give her some encouraging words. Honey, I was just thinking about you. I love you. Flirt with her. It's fun. This is allowing God to guide you. It's living the principles of His Word and His love. It will open the flower of your wife's heart. It will draw the fragrance out instead of bottling it up. And women, when your husband has left for the day and you are on the phone and you sense God suggesting you make his favorite meal, what are you going to do? Do it. Most men love to be doted over. I love it. I love to come home to a clean, orderly, neat home. And I do all the time. It's always picked up. This makes him look forward to coming home. If God whispers in your ear to take a refreshing shower and put on his favorite outfit before he returns home, guess what, ladies? Do it. He's worth it. I love seeing my wife look good. Look good. All the time. God knows what will open the heart of your man. He will stand by your heart, by your side, and he will whisper gently in your ear. If the suggestions that come to mind do not violate his word, and if they put your husband first and yourself second, then follow them. Does that make sense? It's not complicated or complex, is it? This is the gospel of saying yes to God and no to self. We are to respond to his saving grace as often as we recognize him. In doing so, we do away with the old ways and we develop a new way of living. Once you experience this freedom in your marriage, and I believe you'll be convinced to stay on God's program then, because it works. And every couple I know who has entered into this program and stayed with it has irresistible love today. It's a wonderful thing to experience. It's worth everything, John. Absolutely everything, Alvin. Unfortunately, some say, I will not have this God rule over me. Sadly, they don't realize that God either rules over them or Satan does. So which one is it going to be? Stan's card very quickly. He said, update your wardrobe. Relax the menu. Be my golf caddy. He didn't like the way his wife dressed. He didn't want something sleazy. He just wanted her to look nicer. And the guy, his wife is a health food person. He's a junk food person. So he said, instead of tofu, at least give me some free-range chicken eggs every now and then. And he says, go out golfing with me again. I go miniature golfing with you. You go out golfing with me. That was his card. And guess what? She's doing it today. How many women would love to hear their husband say, update your wardrobe? They'd be running down the street right away. So how about you? So what's on your list? What's on your spouse list? What is your spouse's heart longing for? Do you know? Are you willing to explore it with God and begin to work it out before the sad results come in your marriage? God says this in Proverbs 2:2. Apply your heart to understanding. That's what we've been doing this morning, haven't we? God says, apply your heart to understanding. Do you really want this kind of experience? If you really want this kind of experience, it is available to you, and God will coach you to it. All you have to do is apply your heart to understanding. Isn't that beautiful?